Two guys I went to high school with were on apprenticeship wages. We'll call it around 50 grand a year. And both of them financed $100,000 cars. Couldn't afford it and didn't need it, but they did it anyways. Now most people hear that and think the mistake was financial. It's not, because those two guys were trying to buy the exact same thing I spent the last 2 years buying. He just paid 10 times more for the version that doesn't work. Now what was he actually buying? Well, it wasn't transport, of course. A car realistically only needs to be A to B, around $15,000 give or take. So the only honest answer left is, well, how he's seen. And essentially his status. But here's where it starts to get a little bit confusing. A car is an asset. It's something that you own. Your face is also how you're seen. Yet it's in every room, in every photo, and it's yours forever. And those would be the same types of people that call looks maxing gay, except they're not refusing to spend it on appearance. He's just looks maxing his car instead of his face. Now it seems obvious which one matters more when you lay it out like this, but the question obviously begs an answer. Why spend so much money on something that's so low return on investment? A car depreciates on day one. Your face, it appreciates with every lever. Now let's move to coverage. With a car, you drive it around and occasionally park it somewhere. Your face works for you in every waking moment of your life. If that wasn't enough, the credit of having a nice car doesn't go towards you. It just goes to mentally masturbating over the car. Your face is you. It's not something you just own. Now let's move to the cost. A car on a monthly basis may cost you around $700 to $800. Your face, on the other hand, training, diet, skincare, soft maxing, whatever it may be, is simply a fraction of that. And this isn't a rare circumstance. Most guys haven't even spent the fraction yet, but they have on a material asset such as a vehicle. Now, of course, the car does signal status and does work for you. But for two young guys on apprenticeship wages, I think we can both tell which one's a little bit higher return on investment. So why does everyone get it backwards? Well, it's not stupidity. The car is obvious. You either have a nice one or you don't. At least that's what people are aware of. If you had a job interview that went nowhere, well, you usually just get handed an excuse and the benefit of the doubt. Oh, I just wasn't charismatic enough. Maybe the job title just wasn't for me. And I've experienced this firsthand in my own life. Trust me, I've done plenty of job interviews. And the ones where I look like this, I did more job interviews than I ever had and stayed completely unemployed. Whereas when I looked like this, I was handed the job almost instantaneously. And this is just a normal job. Could you imagine that the lengths this extends to when you get to something a little bit more serious? For example, with my YouTube channel, I'm competing against millions of people who are also making similar videos. Now, of course, not every single one of them is making men's aesthetics content, but it is in the space of aesthetics and it is extremely competitive. And I've been at this YouTube game for a very long time. And it wasn't until I fixed my face that somehow everything came together. It's obvious to me in hindsight, but back then I was completely dumbfounded how I was putting in all of this effort and getting absolutely nowhere. Making the same exact content, albeit nowadays people actually care what I have to say. And whether you realize it or not, you are actively paying this tax, whether you're average or below average attractiveness. Everyone knows what a nice car is, but a lot of older generations and even younger guys like myself have been completely deluded by this Disneyland fairy tale, that it's not your looks that matter, it's just what's inside that counts. So guys will try and max out their qualifications. They'll get this certificate and that certificate, or they'll kiss their boss's ass and work their way up the corporate ladder to ultimately get absolutely nowhere. And a huge reason for this is because they haven't been told why attractiveness actually matters or how to even improve it in the first place. Everything I know about looking good, I taught myself, and nobody handed me a single piece of it. I never met my father, and I don't even know what his face looks like. And my mum, who I love, who did everything the way a loving parent is supposed to, taught me nothing about this. Not skin, not food, not style, and whatever I wanted to eat, whether that be soda or chocolate, I got. And here's the thing, it's not neglect. That's a mother doing exactly what the story tells her to do. Love your kid, feed him what makes him happy, tell him that looks don't matter and it's what's inside that counts. Albeit there's just one thing wrong with that story. It's just simply not how the world works. And nobody sat you down and told you that either. And now you're angry. And some people just aren't as fortunate. I was lucky that I ate nothing and I was too obsessed with playing Fortnite. To the other kids that got binge eating disorders, that's where the real damage happens. Look, my growth was stunted for many years. I was always one of the shortest in my grade throughout pretty much all of school. And it wasn't until I started to hit the gym at around 16 years old and start obviously bulking and eating more food until I realized my actual genetic potential. But the same premise still enacts for the other people in the other side of the spectrum. You lived your entire youth with your face fully covered in fat. And that's not to mention the potential growth of gyno. This is the type of damage that not teaching the youth about how important looks are does to them. And it just goes back to the quote, hard times create strong men. Sounds awfully corny if we're relating it to looks maxing, but the quote still stands. It tells you that there's something needed to be done. And that's how the hard times become good times. And good times, such as binge eating and eating all of this shit food, well, we know how that ends up. And you can't hate the guys who bought $100,000 cars that they didn't need. They were just never told what actually matters. And the reason for it doesn't even just come from their parents. It extends to the way they think as well. I'll hear excuses from guys like that saying, oh, I just don't have the money to to invest. Invisalign, it's too expensive. And just like in a lot of cases, you don't listen to someone's words, you look at their actions. Just have a look at their driveway. So in reality, for a lot of guys, it's not even a financial problem. It's a priority problem. And for most guys, unfortunately, they were never told what the priorities actually are. The only place where society's rules and priorities actually get laid out loud is in the schoolyard, and bullies are realistically the only teachers that some men ever had. Kids enforce openly what adults enforce silently. The reason why school was such a brutal point in life for the majority of people is because it was the most honest point in your life. And at the same time, it's an impossible contradiction. You are punished daily by rules that adults just insist don't exist. And the ones that learn that looks matter at a young age are usually the only ones that actually find out what the real priorities are. But even once someone sees this clearly, a final wall remains. And it's never the effort, it's rarely the money. It's explaining the change to people. Starting skincare and your friends calling you gay, dressing nicer and getting who is this for, fixing your hair and being accused of being a tryhard. Society as a whole is conditioned to basically tell everyone that trying to look better is a moral failure. But once someone actually second guesses why it's a moral failure, they realize that it was never the case at all. Because at the end of the day, logic always prevails. And the only time that this logic actually gets completely solidified is when they live a life on either points of the look spectrum. And for most guys, this just never happens. They stay in the middle and they don't even question why they would do it in the first place. They just put it up to vanity or someone trying too hard. And they will actually take comfort in saying that to someone. Because to them, and what their parents told them, not trying is a form of virtue. However, there's multiple reasons why that's a fatal mistake. One being, of course, that your looks are going to determine whether you actually are perceived as virtuous in the first place, given the halo effects. And two, they don't actually think they're coping. They actually think they're the more morally superior one. And because they feel good about this, it's ultimately a trap that's going to keep them looking average. But at the end of the day, people want the easy way out. And turning your brain off and clone maxing under blue light for about 2 years and saving up for a very nice car is a lot less mentally exhausting than scouring the forums and finding out all these different facial ratios and what actually equates to having high SMV. No one wants to do that to themselves. And I don't blame them, because for one, it destroys the concept of a comfortable reality that they grew up living in. And two, it actually forces them to change. Because now when they have a viewpoint of what actually moves the needle and what actually matters, they have no choice but to change. And changing yourself is very uncomfortable for the majority of people. It's something that only arises out of pain. And let's be real, most people have pretty large egos. Changing yourself in of itself is admitting that you simply aren't enough. And this is where a lot of normies sort of get caught up in the whole, you look fine the way you are, stop doing this to yourself, acting like it's some form of mental illness. And yes, to a point, it is never ending. No one's ever perfect. And it's up to you to decide when you are. And that is some mental work that needs to go in there. Looking better and looks maxing and actually putting an effort into the way you look is not a moral failure. So now if you understand the importance of looking like your best self, which is, by the way, a lot more attractive than you might think, you have two options. Number one, develop the obsession. This is easy if you have a vested interest in aesthetics and it's all you ever think about. For most guys like this, the main thing that's holding them back is not knowledge, it's just having the balls to actually execute. And also not overcomplicating it and trying to think that you have to do everything at once. And option two is renting the knowledge. Not scouring looks maxing forums at 3 AM for multiple years. You don't need to become obsessed, you just need someone that has access to it. And what I sell is essentially years of obsession compressed into an order of operations for your face and your budget. So if you know your appearance is holding you back, you're a busy guy or a front-facing professional and you know that your face is costing you money in your business, the application is below using the first link in the description where you can apply to be my private client. The application takes about a minute to fill out. If you qualify, I'll speak to you soon personally. And take this with you. Do you care more living the rest of your life the way you want, or about other people's perception in the moment once you change? Because the change is permanent, the commentary lasts about a fortnight. And that goes for the most extreme of things. Everyone adapts to the new version of you faster than you'd believe. And just remember, the same subconscious judgment that was killing you starts paying you instead. Nobody cares how you got there, they just care about the final products. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, mog your past self, and I'll see you in the next one.